We'll do that again with an unmuted mic. Welcome into DRF Somewhat Daily. We're coming at you every single Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, breaking down a full slate of football action each and every day. Thursdays is previewing the Thursday night football game. Friday, we're breaking down what college football action there is, and we're previewing one SEC Showdown that kicks off at noon tomorrow. We'll be coming at you tomorrow as well with more college football stuff. And then Sundays, we'll be hitting you at 9 a.m. every Sunday with full NFL action, breaking down 3 of the marquee games, maybe more. We'll maybe give out some more best bets on that episode. 9 a.m. Sundays. Set your alarms now. And if you miss out on the live stream, we're always up on YouTube. You can follow along at DRF Sportsbook. That's DRF Sportsbook on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. Everywhere you're on social, we're right there with you with DRF Sportsbook wherever you need to go. We're going to be previewing a lot of games today. We're going to be using a lot of fantastic data provided by DRF Sports Pro. So if you're not already, you can register for free. Just head to drf.com/sports, hit the login register button in the top right corner. And while you're there, subscribe to our newsletter as well. That comes out every Thursday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, breaking down what our data thinks is the best bets using our featured free game of the day. A lot of great stuff there that you do not want to miss out on. And also, if you're in Iowa, congratulations. You can bet the Washed Up Walk-Ons boost. This week, we're boosting Navy to win outright, a 50% boost courtesy of the guys over at the Washed Up Walk-Ons podcast. So head on over to ia.drf.com to bet that boost. You can also download the DRF Sportsbook app in the Apple App Store or Google Play Store. So with all of that housekeeping out of the way, let's dive into the 3 games we have on slate today. First up, we're going to break down Boise State versus New Mexico. New Mexico, a 16.5-point favorite tonight on CBS Sports Network. Some Mountain West action. It's going to be a good game. Might not look like a good game, but Mountain West after dark always makes for a solid game. South Carolina, Arkansas. We're going SEC for tomorrow's noon kickoff on ESPN. That game has some interesting storylines that I'm excited to dive into a little bit further. And then last, but certainly not, maybe it's a little bit least, it's our featured free game of the day today. Louisville, who's coming off of a bad loss, heads to UCF. Louisville is a 5.5-point dog with Malik Cunningham as their quarterback. That's tonight, 7:30 p.m. Eastern on ESPN. But first, let's dive into Boise State versus New Mexico. I said New Mexico, the Lobos, they're 16.5-point favorites. The total is fairly low at 43.5. It is kicking off tonight on CBS Sports Network. If we look at the line movement and where the money is, currently 75% of the public is on the under, whereas 62% of the public are on the Lobos. And that's for good reason. New Mexico's coming off of a 41-0 win against Maine. Granted, Maine is a bad FCS team, so take that with a grain of salt, but they did shut them out. They did dominate on their ground. Their rushing attack looked potent. Meanwhile, Boise State, and this might be why a lot of the public is on New Mexico, they see that 41-0, they see that plus 41-point differential. Whereas when you look at Boise State, they're coming off of a loss to Oregon State. They lost that one 34-17, did not look too great. Apparently, though, the public is completely throwing out historical trends, right? Boise State's 11-1 straight up overall against the Lobos since 1992, but they're 5-0 straight up, 3-2 against the spread at New Mexico, and I think that continues today because Boise State, yeah, they lost, but they had 5 turnovers, 3 interceptions, 2 fumbles that they lost last week, and their offensive stats weren't terrible. They passed it all right, they ran it all right. And with those types of stats, you think it would have been a closer game than it should have been. Boise State probably should have even won if they didn't turn it over 5 times. Oregon State only won by that margin, 34-17. I think that's a testament to this Broncos defense, which might sound weird in a loss where you allow 34 points. But, I mean, you're giving up a short field 5 times. So I'm fading the public entirely on this one. Give me Boise minus 16.5. It is still currently minus 16.5. It opened at Boise minus 17. I think Boise State, if they can clean up the turnovers, and that's a big if, but if they can clean up the turnovers, I think they run away with this one on the road. I might also lean the over a little bit, just completely fading the public, because if Boise State can push across 30-some points, I think this New Mexico offense can push across 17 at least, and by that logic, the over is going to hit. But I'm going Boise minus 16.5 for sure. I love that play. Seeing that turnover differential off of last week's game gives me all the faith in the world that the Broncos are going to fix that issue. They're going to go down to New Mexico and they're going to beat the Lobos. Moving on from tonight's game, we're going to feature one more game tonight on ESPN. That's our featured free game of the day, so it's coming up last. But we're featuring South Carolina against Arkansas. Arkansas is an 8-point favorite at home. The total is set at 53. This kicks off tomorrow at noon. Both teams come into this one 1-0. South Carolina beat Georgia State, where Arkansas beat Cincinnati, a college football playoff team, and they covered. Now, I understand Cincinnati is not the same team as it was last year. They lost Sauce Gardner, they lost Desmond Ridder, they lost a lot of talent, but they still were a ranked team coming into it. And Arkansas not only beat them, they covered. Arkansas has now covered 4 games in a row dating back to last season. Meanwhile, South Carolina beat Georgia State, a Sun Belt team that is good, not great. And this is going to be their first real test of the season, and they didn't look fantastic. That's the Gamecocks. Didn't look fantastic against Georgia State last week. They passed for just about 200 yards. They completed only 58% of their passes. Meanwhile, Arkansas had over 400 yards of total offense. Their defense looked pretty solid. Not to mention Sam Pittman, the head coach of Arkansas, is 10-2 against the spread in the first half of the season in his career. And Arkansas, over the last 2 seasons, 6-2 against the spread early on in the season. I know this one's a little bit different because it's a conference game. You don't normally get those so early on, or at least this much of a difficult one. And if South Carolina wants to be respected with the likes of Spencer Rattler and Beamer Ball and everything they've brought in this last offseason, they want to be on the up and up of this college football landscape in the SEC. They're going to have to win this game. It's a lot of pressure. It's on the road, and that's why I'm going Arkansas minus 8. The historical trends are there in favor of Arkansas. The offense is better than South Carolina. South Carolina kind of struggled against Georgia State, and we haven't seen a great Spencer Rattler since, 2020 COVID? So Spencer Rattler's a fun name to throw around, but I don't think he's going to get it done this weekend for South Carolina against Arkansas. And last, but certainly not least, our featured free game of the day, Louisville goes to UCF. UCF is a 5.5-point favorite here tonight. Louisville's coming off of a 31-7 loss against Syracuse. Not good at all. In that 31-7 loss, the Louisville was favored by 5 points, and they ended up losing it by a lot more than 5 points, so they couldn't even cover the opposite way. They've now lost 3 in a row dating back to last season. They've also gone 2-5 over their last 7 against the spread dating back to last season. Not great stats there for Louisville. UCF, on the other hand, they are 1-8 against the spread after scoring 42 points or more. UCF is coming into this game off of a big-time win against South Carolina State, where they covered as a 43.5-point favorite. They won that one 56-10, so a solid showing against a bad team, but you can only play the people in front of you. And that Louisville loss was kind of surprising, considering Louisville comes in with Malik Cunningham this season, one of the, talking heads' favorite quarterbacks to mention. He might be a top 5 quarterback taken, but after last week's performance, don't bet on that. He went 16 for 22, 152 yards and 2 interceptions. Not a great showing out of Malik Cunningham. And I think I might be on UCF minus 5.5 here. Just because Malik Cunningham didn't have a great game. But then I look at some other things, and I'm on Louisville plus 5.5. Louisville has a lot of money coming in on them. This line is moving down drastically. The public's on UCF, But man, the money is on Louisville. They must be thinking this is a bounce back game. The public must be seeing what UCF did last week to South Carolina State and must be seeing what Louisville did against Syracuse. Louisville's defense might be all right. They just were put in a lot of tough situations with the turnovers. Malik Cunningham is still a good quarterback as of right now. And I mean, if he has another terrible performance, we might have to change that opinion we have of him. But he's a good quarterback as of this moment. Louisville is 2-5 against the spread, like I said, over the last 7 games. But they get right here tonight. Louisville plus 5.5 is the play. I think there's a lot of value there. Our power line puts this game at Louisville minus 5. UCF minus 5. So there's not a ton of value in UCF here. And you look at our breakdown here at the featured free game of the day on drf.com/sports. No huge edge. The only edge is on Game Simulator number 1, where UCF wins this game by, I don't know why the edge is on Louisville there. That's very interesting. Not a lot of edges here in this game, so I'm going to go with my heart. That is not telling me a lot. They're telling me minus 5 is more like it for UCF. I'm going to go Louisville plus 5.5 here, and I'm going to finger cross that they win tonight on ESPN at 7:30. At 7:30 p.m. Eastern. Give me the Cardinals. Give me Louisville. So that's our breakdown of today's slate of games. Thank you so much for tuning in to DRF Daily. But before we get up on out of here, as always, we have to give out our best bets. Just a quick recap of what we talked about today. Boom. It's up on the screen in front of you. We missed out on Rams +2 last night. Rams did not look good. Matt Stafford had a terrible performance, and we're going to wash that one out. So our overall football record's 3-4. We've only been doing this one for a short amount of time, but our overall record still sitting pretty at 63-56. We're positive overall on our best bets for DRF Daily. Today we're going Boise State minus 16.5. Boise State 11-1 straight up overall since 1992 against New Mexico. They're 3-2 straight up against the spread at New Mexico as well. I'm fading the public. 62% of the public is on the Lobos. Boise State's coming off a game where they had 5 turnovers. They're going to get that right. They're going to win this game by 20 plus points. Give me Boise State minus 16.5 all day. Arkansas versus South Carolina. Look, I'm big on the Gamecocks. I love what Beamer's doing down there in Columbia. I think they're building something special. This might be my JMU talking. I love Antoine Wells. He is a FCS transfer from James Madison. He did lead the team in receptions last week. I think he had 8 receptions, but only for 55 yards. So I worry about what their offensive strategy is. I didn't fully watch that game, but that's a kind of an interesting stat line. With that being said, Arkansas is fantastic in the first half of seasons. Give me Arkansas. Give me the Razorbacks at -8. I think they kind of dominate South Carolina because South Carolina struggled with Georgia State, and Arkansas took care of business against Cincinnati last week with a potent offensive attack. And I'm going the dog, Louisville plus 5.5 at UCF. The public is on UCF. The money is on Louisville. I'm following the money. Louisville bounce back spot here. Malik Cunningham can't have 2 terrible weeks back to back. UCF's not a great team either. And they're also 1-8 against the spread after scoring 42 points or more over the last 3 seasons. So UCF doesn't put together great performances all that often. Give me Louisville plus 5.5. I'm feeling fantastic. We'll be back tomorrow with more best bets for college football Saturday. Until then, we hope that your Friday is profitable and you guys check out DRF Sportsbook if you're in Iowa, and check out DRF Sports Pro if you're anywhere else in the nation.